Hey, Edith.
Hey, Christy. How do you make an apple puff?
How do you make an apple puff?
Chase it around the garden.
Hi, I'm Christy.
And I'm Edith. We're backyard gardeners in Colorado.
And neighbors.
And friends. These days, gardening is becoming very popular, and lots of our friends and family are picking our brains for tips and troubleshooting.
We think it's kind of funny because we're not experts. We just learned a lot about gardening from the mistakes we made along the way.
Yeah, so welcome to Upside Down Tulips, a fun podcast that celebrates gardening gone wrong,
where we share our most epic garden failures and our biggest garden lessons.
Upside Down Tulips.
Hi, everybody. I'm Christy.
I'm Edith.
And this is Upside Down Tulips, Episode 3.
Wow.
This time it's personal.
Good one.
Now we got 3 and we're pros at this now, right?
Well, we're getting there, really.
Yeah, practicing,
Yeah,
huh?
we'll just keep practicing.
I'm sure having a good time doing this with you, Edith.
Oh my gosh, I love this, and I love that people are responding. It's exciting.
It's so wonderful.
Yeah.
We have international listeners from Ireland.
Wow. That's impressive. I'm impressed.
It's so fun. I have had a great week in the garden. Did you?
I did. For me, it was kind of a let it be week.
Mm.
You know, except for the fact that now I have Japanese beetles, which we'll talk about another time. But yeah, I didn't do that much in the garden this week.
Hey, I'm looking at you right now. And did you cut your hair again?
Yes.
It looks good.
I just got the... I cut the bangs and I cut
You
it back
did.
here.
It looks really good.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
It looks like a whole person's haircut.
Thank
and
you.
not just
Both
one
sides
person's.
match now, don't they?
do.
Thank
That
you.
looks really good.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time in the garden this week. In fact, I'm getting a farmer tan. Can you see this?
Oh yeah, you are.
And I think it's interesting because normally in the summer I don't spend as much time as I would like in the garden because I'm directing plays.
Right.
Which means I'm in a dark theater. And I've been out so much because of COVID that I'm getting this interesting farmer tan. So I started wearing shorter sleeve shirts just to kind of get the upper parts of my arm not so strange. But the inside of my arms are so white that I think I'm going to start gardening palm side up so I can try to get the other parts of my body to match because it doesn't look. It looks kind of strange.
Well, wear it with pride is what I say. Just wear it with pride, Christy.
I will. I might be good. I can make sure. Sunscreen, too. Sunscreen.
Right. Good point. Good call. Good call. Okay.
Well, last week I confessed that my front yard was a little weedy, so I went out into the front and just started really going to town, and I deadheaded and I weeded and
Christy,
just to give everything.
Maybe, Christy, for people that really, I think we have some people that have never gardened. Can you please explain deadheading?
This is where Jerry Garcia comes into your garden and starts to play some music for you. And then a lot of people in tie-dye come over with patchouli and...
Christy, he's dead. He is dead. He's not going to be doing that.
The term deadhead means to take the spent flower, the flower that's about to go to seed, and popping it off, which will encourage the whole plant to go, hey, we haven't made any flowers yet. We need to start making more flowers. And so if you deadhead, you take off the dead flowers as they're fading or as they've come to seed, you'll get a lot more flowers from it.
Yeah, good.
It can be enjoyable depending on the flower, I think. Some are fun to just kind of pop off.
Yeah.
Some are a little bit more annoying to do.
Yeah.
Well, I deadheaded a lot, and I weeded a lot, and I made a couple mistakes while I was doing it.
What did you do?
Well, I planted from seed some Rudbeckia seeds, and they were growing, and maybe they were like 1/4 of an inch high when I put them out. And I'm looking at the ones on the south side of my garden. I go, they're looking really, really great. I said, hey, wait a minute. Where are the ones on the north side of the garden? I think I weeded them.
Oh, no.
Christy. They're not there, and the other ones were there, so I think that. So that was disappointing. Oh, and I also combed my angel hair.
No, you lost me.
So the difference, folks, between my garden and Edith's garden, one of them is that I will have ornamental grasses. And Edith, what do you think of ornamental grasses?
I don't do them.
Yeah, why is that? Why don't you do ornamental
I don't
grasses?
know. I just don't. It's too much. It's too ornamental. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I like them, and I have several little sections of. Some people call it angel hair grass. I've also heard it called Mexican feather grass. But when these grasses go to seed, they can get all clumpy. And what's really pretty about them is how they sway in the wind and how they look in the sun. So I took a rake and I combed them out to get all the clumpy seed heads out, and now they're flowing gracefully in the wind.
That's so clever. That is really clever. If I had had any peaches this year, I would have used a rake when the peaches are a little teeny tiny. I put it through the peach tree to cull, because there's so many peaches that they won't go more than an inch or 2 inches wide unless you cull.
So I like how you can take a tool and use it for something else.
I do too.
It has a multi-purpose.
I do too. Gardening does not have to be expensive.
In the veggie garden, I want to give you an update on my tomato plant.
Okay.
So last week I talked about I have 9 tomato plants, and one of them I was getting that rust on it. And I clipped back as much of that little rust as I could. And I named this tomato plant.
Oh?
I named it Alice because I have 9 tomato plants and I do square foot gardening. So in all the 9 tomato plants, if you look at it like you would the Brady Bunch,
Yeah.
Alice is in the middle. So I named this troublesome plant Alice. And I thought it was looking a little better. And so I clipped everything. I clipped all the little rusty pieces away. I sprayed some neem oil on it, some organic neem oil. Gave it some water. I gave it another layer of mulch. And I thought that's really great. And then I went on to, I said, do this to the rest of my tomatoes. And I kind of looked at all the little tomatoes. And I realized as I was doing this, Edith, that I should have washed my hands. And I should have washed my tools.
Between the sick plants.
Yes. And I think as I'm doing this, going, I wonder, this is probably not a good idea. And then I looked it up and they said, you should wash your hands and you should clean your tools with alcohol, which of course rubbing alcohol is such a hot commodity right now.
Right.
Every time I go to Target, I always look in that aisle just to see if there's some in there. And there never is.
Well, you know what? I just think it's going to be fine. I do. Always look on the bright side of the garden. It's going to be fine.
I think so. And they say
so
those kind of diseases, if it's a fungus, they happen. That's not really your fault necessarily, because as much as you can want to try to protect your soil, or I do try to do crop rotation, rotate the tomatoes out so they're in a different spot of the garden every year. But it can come on the air.
Of course it can. Christy, let's not forget what the I Ching says. No blame.
Oh, I love it when you say that. I just feel like
my
whole body relaxes when
you're
you say
absolved.
that.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah, it's so nice. So I think that my and I want to tell you about my cauliflower.
Okay.
So, folks, last week after we recorded the podcast, Edith came out to the vegetable garden, and I was showing her the cauliflower and how I'd sprayed the aphids that were crazy, and I sprayed them all off. And Edith turned over one of the leaves, and we both recoiled in horror.
Yes.
The leaf was just covered in crawling aphids. So I went and I sprayed the back of the leaves.
Good.
And I checked them today, and they looked way better.
Good.
So
good. Mine do too.
Share that tip about what you're supposed to do with cauliflower to
Oh.
keep it white, because my cauliflower was
okay.
turning yellow.
You take the leaves and you meet them together over the cauliflower. In other words, you're covering the cauliflower vegetable, the white part, with all the leaves. And I just use clothespins.
That's so smart.
Because the white will get yellow from the sun. It's the same as when you grow leek. And you're supposed to keep putting dirt up so that it stays white.
Yeah.
And so that's what it is.
Well, I have to harvest that. You know, one of my big gardening mistakes is fear of harvesting. And I know I have to go out there and I have to harvest it, because I've harvested that cauliflower late, and I think I have to pull a bunch of heads.
Yeah, I think you should too. Yeah.
And then blanch it and put it in the freezer.
Perfect.
Right?
Yeah.
And then what else do I have to say about this? Oh, I also want to say that I think my lawn chair experiment has been successful.
The lawn chair over the plant?
Yeah, I put it over my lettuce and my arugula and my spinach to keep it from bolting. Because, when it starts to bolt, it turns bitter. And I still want to get some more use out of it. And I'm still harvesting it. I think, and it was in the upper 90s this week here in the Denver metro area.
That's pretty amazing, Christy.
So it's still out there, my lawn chair.
Oh.
And if I'm watering and I want to want to sit down, get tired, there's a chair.
There's a chair right there for you. Or a guest in the garden.
Always, a guest
a
is
kitty
always
passing by will sit and watch you.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So it was a good week so far in the garden with just a couple mistakes of taking up plants that I had planted.
Oh,
and
wow. Yeah.
spreading disease over my garden. I know.
Oh, you are the black plague of your garden.
Oh, man. So we'll let you know if Alice makes it next week.
Okay, good. That's a good hack. The chair over that's really good. I love that. I read about a wonderful life hack. I love the Wheat Rich Gardeners Facebook page. And I want to tell you what Amanda from the Wheat Rich Gardeners wrote. When your strawberry plants stop producing and your toddler is obsessed with picking berries, scatter a few organic store-bought berries around the patch. They'll never know the difference. Isn't that great?
Yes, that's like there's a Santa Claus.
Yes.
There are berries that will just appear in your yard.
That kid is going to love gardening for the rest of his life.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And do you know what else I saw on Wheat Rich Gardeners? I saw a T-shirt that said, I garden so I don't choke people. Send mulch, save a life.
Love
good,
it.
Right?
That is really good. I love that. And Wheat Ridge Gardeners is just a Facebook group page that we go to because we live in Wheat Ridge, Colorado. And for folks out there, there's probably a Facebook group page out there for you in your own neighborhood. It's nice to have community like that, isn't it?
It's wonderful to have community. And I think that there are so many resources perfectly free if you live. Everyone has a university in their state, but like Colorado Extension, the agricultural extension, they have wonderful information. And they also will help if you call them. So, yeah, make use of it. It's all good.
And if you live in Colorado, the Facebook group page, Colorado Gardening, is really good too.
Oh, I don't even know that.
Oh, that one's
huge.
huge.
Good. Oh, I'll look at that.
That's the whole state. Yeah,
oh, wow. Really okay.
Yeah. What else is going on in your garden?
I have been picking zucchini. I've been picking cucumbers. I have put a ladder over my one zucchini. I'm trying to squash it upwards so that it I don't have anything to stake it with, so I put a ladder over it, big ladder. So when it gets bigger, I'm going to hook it onto the ladder.
I'm so excited for this experiment.
So am I.
Because zucchini can take by the end of the summer, zucchini can take up a lot of room in the garden.
They can take over the entire garden. Absolutely.
And this way you'll be saving yourself so much room by trying to stake it.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody do that. I'm very excited to see.
Well, I saw it on Wheat Ridge Gardeners. That's where I saw it. So we're all early on this experiment, so we'll see if it works, Of course, I watered, and like I said, I really had to let it be. I got my first couple raspberries. Just
nice.
A couple. The choke cherry berries. What did you give me?
I gave you ground cherries.
Ground cherries, which I have never. So I planted 3 of them. 1 died, but I still have 2.
I still haven't gotten mine in the ground yet.
Oh, for heaven's sakes, Christy. You're too busy spreading disease.
That's right. I've had a couple raspberries, and I just give them a handful and I give them to my husband.
Oh, that's so nice.
And the strawberries were kind of blah this year for me.
Yeah, I didn't have any. So
I had a couple. I just assumed either it was a bad year or the squirrels got it.
Oh, the squirrels. Yeah.
So you don't want any zucchini?
No.
Are you sure? Because I can give you some.
How many do you have?
I've had, right now, I think I have 4. You want one?
Wow, sure, I'll take one.
Are you kidding me?
Psych.
I had somebody come into my house for, to do some maintenance, and I made them take zucchini with them on their way out.
I once took zucchini to an audition, and I took it out of my purse, and I gave it to somebody who was auditioning, and I go, here you go.
Oh, I love it. That's great.
Upside down tulips.
we're going to talk about invasive plants.
Otherwise known as weeds.
Can be a weed, can be a plant.
Can be a weed. That's what's so interesting about it. You know, we all have had weeds in our garden my whole life. I did a little bit of research and I could not believe some of the things I've been pulling out and composting all these years are not only perfectly edible, but they are actually, like they call it, a superfood.
What?
Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to recommend that you go out and eat your weeds because I'm not a professional. I don't want to get sued. But I will mention if I read that some people think that they're edible.
Well, I think the one that first comes to mind are dandelions, right?
Absolutely. Dandelions. That's the one thing I have been eating, actually.
Really?
I put it in salad. If you pick it in the early spring, don't wait until the heat. It's really good.
Is it just the leaves?
Yeah.
And so you don't eat the
Yellow flower? No.
I think I have eaten as a kid the yellow flower. I think it's really bitter.
Probably it would be. You know what's not here that we're on the East Coast are buttercups. I don't think they're a weed. Remember buttercups?
Yeah.
We used to put a petal under our tongue. They were great.
We have some listeners in Pennsylvania and in Virginia. They would appreciate this part of the story.
They would. They sure would. Listen, so the dandelions, people make wine out of it. Of course, everyone knows that, dandelion wine. You can buy dandelion root for stomach issues. Did you know that?
No,
You
I
look
had no idea.
surprised. Oh, yeah. It's an old medicinal herb. And the other reason that this is the one thing I don't take out dandelions. I try to control them, but I don't take them out because in the spring, it's the first plant to flower. So what else are the bees going to eat?
I have heard that before, though I have to say that when dandelions start in my yard, I already have a lot of other things flowering. So I personally do not mind taking out the dandelions because there's a lot of other stuff for them.
Yeah, but you're the flower queen and I'm not. So
You have good flowers in your yard.
in the front, far away from me. Okay, so anyway, dandelions are really hard to get rid of because the taproot is so unbelievably long. That may be another reason why I let them go.
Yeah. And when you can pull a dandelion out, root and all, that is a very satisfying feeling.
It's a wonderful thing. Only do it after a rain or you'll break your back.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's another one. Christy, do you know what a lamb's quarters is?
Oh, I have heard of this before. If you describe it for me, I might.
Well, it's green.
Go on. Get out. It's green?
It's so hard to describe.
Wait a minute. I think I may have a green thing in my yard.
You are a wise person. You're a wise blankety blank. Okay, so it is related to spinach. Did you know that? It's related to spinach. This is one that a lot of people eat in the spring. Yeah. There are some in my in the alley that they can get to be 6 feet tall if you don't pull them.
Does it flower?
It has these little tiny yellow flowers.
Yes.
Little tiny yellow. Yeah.
I pulled some weeds from my yard for Edith to look at. Does it look like this?
Okay. You know what? That is either prickly lettuce or it is lamb's quarters. I don't think it's lamb's quarters.
It'll have little yellow flowers, and then it'll have like little, and then when it flowers, it poofs like a dandelion in a way.
You know what? I think that's what it is. I think it's prickly lettuce, which they also say is edible. I'm going to post pictures on the website or the Facebook page.
This is terrible to get out.
It is so hard to get out.
When I pulled on it and it just snapped and my ground was soft, and then I tried digging it out. I did this week, and it was there. I just said hello. I'll see you again in a couple weeks because I couldn't get it out.
Yeah. Well, some people.
I brought visual aids.
Some people
today.
Some people eat that. You brought visual aids on a thing that's only audio. So, but that's good. That's forward thinking. Anyway, Christy.
It's a tall weed, though. It's like
very
3 feet tall.
Yeah, it is very tall. There's a prickly lettuce and then there's a wild lettuce, and that the prickly you can tell why because it has little prickies on it.
Is this it? So I'm pulling up another.
I think so. I don't think any of this is lamb's quarter.
Okay.
I don't think any of
this hurts.
Is
this is
quarter.
prickly. This
that's
prickly stuff.
Yeah. People say you can eat that, but that's insane. Just don't do that. Don't do it. Okay,
Yeah.
Christy, they also say that bindweed is edible. Some people say bindweed is edible. I think if you're starving, almost anything. I mean, you could eat the bark of a tree if you're
Sure.
starving. But bindweed, which we talked about last week, right? That
Yes.
was another on my list of weeds, of noxious. Did you know why they call them noxious weeds?
No.
Noxious is something that is not indigenous to where you are. It has come in from somewhere else.
Yeah.
So there's no way to control it. Noxious weeds. Pretty good, huh? Okay. Christy?
Yes.
Do you know what purslane is?
Yes, I have this all over my vegetable garden, people eat this, right?
Now, this is one that I will eat this too. This one I can actually
Really?
say, yeah.
Do you have recipes?
I just put it in a salad. Last year, I actually froze some.
Really?
I did. I didn't actually eat it because it turned into a gelatinous mess in the freezer. But yeah, it actually is edible and it's tasty.
That's shocking to me.
Really? Have you never even
I've
tried
never
it?
tried it. I'm gonna
Try
next.
it.
I'll see because it grows. Especially if you let that go, man, and it blooms too, doesn't it?
It blooms. It
Purslane.
does. Little tiny yellow flowers.
It has. It's very low to the ground,
Like a carpet.
like a little carpet.
Looks like a succulent because it's got like the leaves are not flat. Yeah.
If anybody out there has purslane recipes, will you share them with us?
Yes,
that be
please.
interesting?
It would be interesting.
Like, can you do something else with them besides make a salad with?
You could probably throw them in a soup. I throw everything in soup.
Oh, purslane soup.
Everything, yeah. No, not purslane and water. Purslane in like a vegetable soup.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, just when you throw everything in the fridge in a pot. Okay, moving on. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, purslane superfood. That's the one they really call as a superfood. Canadian thistle, also called creeping thistle. Do you know, Christy, anything with the word creeping I have a problem with? There was the creeping bellflower. There's the Virginia creeper.
In Minnesota, where I grew up, creeping Charlie.
Creeping Charlie. I read about creeping Charlie. But
It would just invade your lawn, and it has a purple flower.
Well,
It takes away the oxygen and the moisture in the soil and just strangles other plants out.
well, this
Yeah,
Canadian
creeping.
thistle apparently is really bad too.
It's creeping.
Creeping thistle or Canadian thistle. It's both.
Mm-hmm.
Creeping Canadian thistle. We like you Canadians. If we ever get a listener from Canada, we really like you. And we don't think that you creep. It's just that this thistle is named Canadian creeping thistle. And that's it. Okay, so in my alley, the prickly wild lettuce was 7 feet tall. I'm not kidding. It was taller than me, and I'm pretty tall. And I kept wondering. I saw it going to seed, and I went out there today, and my neighbor had cut it down. So it's not going to go to seed and invade
nice.
my entire garden.
Yeah.
I kind of thanked him. I kind of yelled thank you through the fence. Which
Do you ever, when you're walking, feel like ripping out weeds when you're going on a walk?
sometimes I do that.
Yeah, I'd be walking and I see somebody who has bindweed. I have this compulsion to pull it. And there's somebody on my block right now that has bellflower that is flowering and it's going to seed. And
You pull it.
I want to pull it.
You
I think,
wanna
is it
pull it.
rude? Is it rude to go into somebody's
It is if it's
yard?
flowering, because maybe they want it.
I don't think this person really does, but
What do they say? There's a saying about that. It's easier to ask for forgiveness
Yes.
than to ask for permission. I think that's a good thing to live by.
I have to live by that longer. I'm always afraid to hurt or upset people or make
Yeah.
people mad or
You have to learn how to be stealthy.
yeah.
Then they don't get mad because they don't know you did it.
Yeah.
So
This person would not care if that creeping bellflower was still
you are
there.
so Minnesota nice. It's time for that to stop.
I'm trying to stop.
Okay.
So when we come back, I'm going to share with you more about invasive plants.
Good.
Upside Down Tulips is brought to you by Mulch. You may already know the importance of mulch in your garden. Want to control weeds? Mulch it. Want to retain moisture? Mulch it. Want to prevent disease from splashing up on your plants? Mulch it. But did you know mulch has so many other uses?
My sink is full of dirty dishes.
Mulch it.
My car won't start.
Mulch it.
My boyfriend won't return my calls.
Mulch it.
My boss schedules too many meetings.
Mulch it, mulch it, mulch it, mulch it, mulch it.
There is no toilet paper.
Mulch it.
Ow!
So whether it's pebbles, pine needles, straw, compost, or wood chips, get some mulch and mulch it today.
Hey, howdy, we're back. And Christy's going to do a lot of talking now because she's the one that knows a lot about invasive plants. Right, Christy?
I hope so. Well, these are the flowering plants that are nice to have, but they can dominate your yard. And if you don't have anything to keep it in check, it can spread by seeds. It could spread underground. And some people will consider, so I want to talk to you about the invasive flowering plants that are in my yard. And we could talk about some of the things that we do to knock them back. The first one I have is morning glory.
Oh, I love morning glories.
Yes.
But I have them in a container.
Oh, they don't spread on you?
No, they're in a container on concrete.
Oh, smart.
So I have them going up my railing.
I love morning glory too. They're beautiful vining.
Beautiful,
They come in a lot of different colors. Mine are deep purple, but I've also seen them in pink and white and blue. I planted mine. I have a little fence that goes around my vegetable garden. I thought it would be really nice to have morning glory there. And every year, as the morning glory is blooming, I'm appreciating it, but all the baby morning glories that come up in my vegetable garden constantly, every
Christy,
week,
mine too.
pulling baby morning glories out.
I planted morning glories in my garden about 15, 17 years ago. And then I got rid of them, and every year I'm still pulling out the little baby seeds. Yeah.
Well, I'm grateful to have them because it's a flower I remember my mother growing.
Oh.
And don't you think some of the things we have in our garden are things that our
my
mother,
gosh,
our
yes.
grandmother had?
Yes.
So
absolutely.
I love having them. I always think how pretty they are. And they just bloom that day.
One day, that's right. And then the insects come and love them, and then they're gone. But they're always replaced by at least one or two more.
Yeah.
You can see which
bloomers.
ones.
I can't believe I bought seed.
I can't believe you bought seed either. I have tons of seed.
I bought it.
That's funny.
I save it for people. But I say this is that if you have a chain link fence that you want to make beautiful, morning glory seeds are a great thing to grow on it.
I used to go and throw morning glory seeds up and down the alley of people that just had nothing but weeds.
Oh, nice. So maybe the morning glories.
So maybe they'd be a little pretty.
Yeah. I don't know how to really knock those back so much, though. I'm not very. You just have to be. I think you just have to just really pull the babies.
That's all you have to do. Yeah.
Yeah, but they can be invasive, and some people so there's somebody out there right now. When I said morning glory, that just a shiver ran up their spine.
Yeah, I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
I am sure of it.
Okay, another plant that can be invasive and it's invasive for me, is lemon balm.
I have lemon balm. Yeah.
This is an herb. It is a part of the mint family, and it has beautiful dark green, shiny leaves, and it'll have a flower, like a little whitish type flower, and it's called lemon balm because it smells like lemons. It's actually a beautiful. I did not know this was actually an herb for the longest time. I just thought it was a weed, and I would pull it, but it was always showing up. I think a good example of learning how to live with lemon balm is trimming it and cutting it and using it. I've made tea out of it. I've made sun tea out of it.
Make a potpourri?
Yeah.
Put it in a potpourri,
You
something
could put
like
it in a
that?
potpourri. It smells wonderful. I also suggest trimming it back, deadheading it, cutting it back so it doesn't get so big. Don't let it go to seed. So I've got about 6 or 7 plants that I put in nice little round shapes. And I also give it away, too.
Well, that's a good idea. Maybe you should mention something about just mint, what mint does. Mint is neither, what mint does in a garden, how much you have to love it if you put it in there.
Yeah, put it in a spot that you're not afraid for it to spread. Some people I know will actually bury it in a pot so that it won't spread, like a clay pot. Not a plastic pot.
Not a plastic, clay pot.
Yeah. In a clay pot so it won't spread. Another thing to help mint from spreading is to keep it trimmed back.
Aha.
So it's spending its energy on growing above ground and not growing below
And
ground.
let's also mention the kinds of incredible mint you can buy, like chocolate mint.
I have
Don't
chocolate
you have
mint.
chocolate mint?
I have chocolate mint. I have orange mint, apple mint, spearmint. It's nice when you want to make mojitos when it's hot out.
Oh, I'll bet. It's also nice to smell. It's just a great smell.
Oh, it's so great.
Yeah.
Just to walk through. And you can, as I walk through with my coffee cup, I'll grab a couple leaves and put it in my coffee. All right, here's another one. Besides mint, that can be invasive. California poppy.
I can't even grow them. I have been collecting seeds. Are you kidding me? I love them. They're the little orange ones.
The state flower, California. It's in the poppy family, but they're tiny and they're orange.
I love them.
I have them all over my yard.
Christy, I'm a failure. I can't grow them. I've seen them grow in gravel. Why can't I grow them in my yard?
Not
I'm
invasive
serious.
for you. Some people find them very invasive. And again, I have planted these alongside my vegetable garden. So every spring I am ripping out. And I wish I could share them with you. They don't transplant well because they have a long taproot. We could try it again. But you know what I'll do is I'll give you some. I can winter sow you some maybe.
Thank
and they
you.
will.
But you know what? I'll bet you when you had the morning glories there and the California poppy, what a beautiful wall of color you had there.
It's great. It still is. And if you go out in my yard, you'll still see a lot of California poppy.
Yeah.
If you deadhead them and give them a good healthy haircut around 4th of July, they'll come back and you'll get another flush. And careful, and then go to seed.
Oh, good.
So just give them a haircut and
I'll do that to the ones that I have not been able to grow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Also, I would say that can be invasive is lamb's ear.
Oh yeah, lamb's ear.
Lamb's ear is a beautiful plant. It's called lamb's ear because the plant is a soft, beautiful silver gray, and the leaves are so soft. And it can just grow everywhere.
Yeah, it marches. It marches
the
from
word. It
yard
marches.
to yard. It really does.
And the flower on it is not that great.
No.
But boy, do the bees love that flower.
Yeah. The flower on it looks like a toilet brush, don't you think?
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Not the prettiest flower, but the bees go crazy about it.
Yeah.
And my suggestion with it is keep it trimmed back
Mm-hmm.
and to give it away.
That's always the thing to do.
You never know what some people don't have. And
Yeah.
I will have people come through and go shopping in my yard, and I'll just say, would you like some of this? Would you like some of that? The more I like to have a little lamb's ear in my yard because I think it's visually interesting that the eye catches the silver gray.
Yeah.
So it's not the same color green. I like that the bees like these strange flowers. And if you trim it and cut it back, give chunks of it away to people who don't have it. It's a really nice plant, but it can get invasive. And also, as the summer goes on, it can look a little...
It looks scraggly looking, doesn't it?
Yeah. So keep it trimmed back.
Yeah.
I have another one. What else do I have here? Oh, I have some things that aren't necessarily in my yard, but I've heard they can be invasive.
Okay.
And one is larkspur.
I have larkspur.
Do you think it's invasive?
It is invasive. Yeah, it's invasive. I have to say I love it. But this year, because I had time, I kept hoeing. I mean, it would come up like a dense carpet. I would hoe it and just leave the ones I wanted.
Oh, yeah, I've done that before too.
And I think that they're purple and pink, and every once in a while you get a white one.
Oh.
Yeah, very rare, but I like them, and but you have to stay on top of it.
I got a volunteer larkspur for the first time in my yard.
You're kidding.
And I think the reason why was because it started coming up with my cosmos. And it has the same sort of feathery, dill-like leaf structure.
It does,
and it turned blue, and I went, oh my gosh, is that larkspur? So I'm gonna collect the seed on it and grow some more. But
Oh my
I should
gosh,
be careful.
if you need larkspur seed, I have. I can't even tell you how much.
I don't have, isn't that funny? You don't have California poppy.
And you don't have larkspur.
And I don't have larkspur.
And Larkspur is a city in Colorado, so everyone should have larkspur.
Yes.
In honor
yes, of course.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're from Larkspur, Colorado out there, will you call us and...
Is there a lot of larkspur there? Is
Yes,
that why it was named that?
That's not why is it called larkspur? And another story I want to share about what some people consider invasive is that I was going to meet a friend. I was going to socially. Oh, I can't speak.
You were going to meet a friend in a socially distant manner.
Yes, I went to their house, and I noticed out front they had this field of little Johnny jump ups.
I love them. Oh,
Which are little pansies, and my friend apologized to me. Oh, so sorry, but that front bed, I haven't weeded it at all. I got to get those weeds out. And I went, those aren't weeds. Those are Johnny Jump-ups. But I can understand her point was because somebody's seed traveled over, and she had this nice gravelly, rock garden, and she didn't want Johnny Jump-ups. She considered those a weed.
I love them. They will come up in a sidewalk crack, but I love them. I think I love the name more than anything. I always picture a little tiny man named Johnny, and he's jumping up. I just
so
love
cute.
it.
Right, and their little faces like pansies.
They do.
I've
love
always
them.
liked pansies.
Well, this is good information, Christy.
Oh, glad.
For some people, it's invasive. So for some people, it's not, right?
Yeah, and if you don't like them, then you can just stay on top of them.
Right.
Give them away, deadhead, cut back, give things haircut, so you just have the amount that you want.
Good stuff.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Upside Down Tulips is sponsored by...
Hey, folks. Due to the huge, and I'll admit it, unexpected positive response to the Curmudgeon's Handbook of Jewelry Quotations, we made a Curmudgeon's calendar just for you. Every month has a different saying. On the cheery calendar hanging on your kitchen wall, there's probably a quote saying, April showers bring May flowers. On our calendar it says, don't tinkle down my back and tell me it's raining. Look at September, the friendship month. Your calendar may say something like, there's nothing better than a friend, unless it's a friend with chocolate. Our calendar says, you can pick your nose, you can pick your friends, but you can't wipe your friends under the couch. Where your cutesy calendar might counsel patience by saying, quote, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, unquote. Ours says, you can lead a man to water, but you can't make him hit the bowl. The Curmudgeon's calendar, speaking truth from your kitchen wall. Supplies are limited. And now it's time for everyone's favorite, the mailbag.
Mailbag!
Here we go. We got some great letters this week for which we thank you very much.
So here's mine, which says, this is from Gretchen in Littleton, Colorado. I would say my biggest gardening mistake vegetable-wise in the short time I've been gardening was spacing. At first, in my big, overwhelmed by weeds yard, I started with such a small space and was overly excited to have my first garden and tried to get as many things as I could possibly fit into a very tight space. There were times I literally forgot certain plants existed because they were hidden under a giant tomato plant or something. It was a nice surprise when I could find hidden peppers, though. Things need room to thrive. So I have learned that since. Thanks, Gretchen. That's true.
Thank you. And the next letter from Mike kind of deals with the same thing, putting too many things in a tight space. Okay, here we go. This is from Mike, and he's from Denver. He says, I put in a raised bed all along the front of my house and moved some daylilies that had been barely surviving in a shaded area of the backyard into the one end of the raised bed where they really flourished, so that after a couple of years, they were covering about a 32-foot square area.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, they looked great and really bloomed nicely every year. And while I knew the gardening book said to dig them up and divide them every few years when they were crowded, few is such an inexact term. And I hadn't bothered with that until I noticed that they were starting to come up on the lawn outside the brick border of the raised bed.
Oh, no.
This was probably 8 or 10 years after I had planted them. When I started to dig them up, I discovered I basically seemed to have one large daylily that was covering the entire bed. The roots were all together in a large mass, and it nearly killed me getting them broken up and out of the ground. I had originally moved about 12 plants into the bed, and after I got the masses dug up and divided, I had over 200 daylilies.
Oh, my goodness.
I replanted some of them in a bed in the backyard and one in the side yard and hounded all my neighbors incessantly to take the rest. Sadly, I ended up throwing away many of them that I couldn't use or give away.
Oh, that breaks my heart.
And I have to admit that my record of not digging up and dividing iris bulbs on a regular basis is also pretty bad, but nothing close to the daylily fiasco.
That scares me because I have daylilies I need to divide.
I've never divided my iris.
I have so many iris right now.
You gave me iris roots a while ago, a couple of years ago, and I planted them even though I have never even thinned out mine.
I have to do that. I have to. I have huge chunks of iris that need to get divided, and daylilies too.
Me too. Can I have some of your daylilies if you're giving any away?
Yeah, they're best to do in the spring. I don't know when Mike dug his up, but iris is right now. This is July.
Mm-hmm.
July is iris dividing season.
Okay.
So I have a lot to give
I might
away.
do that if it ever gets below 90.
That's the hard part about it, I think, is
Yeah.
dividing. And if you don't divide them, they stop blooming.
Well, that
They
would
get
explain a lot of stalks I had sticking up in my front yard with no flowers on them.
Well, this was a tough year for iris in Denver because of that April frost.
Oh,
I don't think many people had a good.
Edith, no blame. No blame.
That's right.
Thank
You know, a wise person once told me that, Edith.
Did they?
Yes, beautiful too. May I say, like just
Thank
beautiful
you.
and wise. Said no blame. That was a tough year for iris.
Okay, that explains it.
But my
Good.
daylilies are blooming beautifully right now.
I do love them. I just don't have any.
Also, another flower that just blooms one day.
One day?
Yeah,
What?
that's why it's called a daylily.
Oh, you mean all that fuss for one day?
Yeah, that's why it's
Do
not
they all
called
pick-
month lily.
Oh, do they all pick month lily? Do they all pick the same day, and then you have this barren stalk sticking?
Well, they'll have the stalk, but it'll have a lot of little buds, and so the little flowers,
Oh.
each little bud will bloom, and then you'll notice if you notice a daylily's blooming, and then it's the next day it's gone,
Well,
and then you pop it off, and then but there'll be more little buds on the stalk.
Okay.
And
Okay.
the
You
more
can tell
you-
I don't do the flowers a lot. You can see
And the
that
more you
now.
divide it, the more stalks you'll get with more buds on it.
Okay, that's good to know.
Thank you, Gretchen. Thank you, Mike, for your fabulous letters. It makes us feel so good to hear from you. We really care about you and your gardens, and we like to know that we're not the only ones making gardening mistakes out there.
We also would love you to share, if you wanted to, your garden successes and triumphs.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we'd love to celebrate that. Yeah.
Let's celebrate with you. Let's bond with you over if you have any invasive plants or weeds in your neck of the woods.
All they have to do is...
Just go to our website at upsidedowntulips.com, or you can leave us a message on Facebook too.
Perfect.
And now it's time for an inspiration for the garden. This one came from my sister Lori. Your first job is to prepare the soil. The best tool for this is your neighbor's motorized garden tiller. If your neighbor does not own a garden tiller, suggest that he buy one.
Dave Barry.
Dave Barry.
So funny.
Yeah. Thanks, Lori.
Christy, it's time to go, but first I want to say we got people listening to us.
It's so wonderful, isn't it?
I'm surprised. Are you? I'm a little surprised.
You know, I'm a little surprised, but then I also know how many gardeners are out there.
That's so true.
And we need some laughter. We need some advice. We need to get together and bond.
So keep listening, please, and stay in contact with us. We're going to go now, and we'll see you when? Well, next week.
See you next week. We please like and subscribe and tell your friends about us and visit our webpage and our website. Special thanks to Denise Gentilini for composing and performing the Upside Down Tulips theme song. And don't forget, if you make a mistake,
Your garden will forgive you.
goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Upside down to